Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend. I'm Jason Godbey, and we're back with part 2 of our coverage of the Sundance Film Festival. We're going to be talking about some more films from that festival, but first, here's a quick word from our sponsor.
Sponsored by Black Magic Design, the world's highest quality products for the feature film, post and broadcast industries. blackmagicdesign.com, and by the Tonkawa Film Festival, celebrating short films from around the world. tonkawafilmfestival.com.
And joining me now, back in the studio, all the way from New Jersey, Mr. Eric McClanahan. Welcome back.
Thank you, Jason. Always a pleasure to be here.
It's like you never left.
It's exactly like I never left. I feel like I've been on this couch for at least 3 hours.
I just want to remind people, we do have interviews with a couple of the filmmakers that are on the YouTube right now for Touch Me. And then we also had the short, which was Sweet Talking Guy.
Yes. Yeah, Touch Me was, I believe, part of the Midnight Selection programming. And the Midnight Selection is my favorite because they get the weird stuff, the subversive stuff, and you know I like the subversive stuff. I like stories told with attitude, and Touch Me delivered. I knew it was going to be weird. It exceeded my expectations. If you haven't checked that interview out with writer-director Addison Hyman?
Yes, Hyman.
Hyman, definitely check that out. But let's get into these documentaries. Now, like we said, if you watch part 1, there was kind of a theme this year, death. There was a lot of cancer. In fact, I've got some for you now. So this film was called Andre's...
Brilliant segue.
So actually, this is a fun story.
Okay.
So when I had my notebook paper out, and I'm scrolling through all the films that are available to watch at Sundance, and I'm jotting down the ones that I'm interested in seeing. I'm making my short list of 40 films. Remember that I sent you the short list of 40 films, and I would put a little note next to each one.
I remember
as to
the
why.
notes. They were quite
Yes.
entertaining.
And I wrote down, Andre is an idiot - Andre has butt cancer. And the thumbnail is this wild-haired guy lit from behind who looks a little bit like Nicolas Cage. And that guy is Andre Ricciani. And he is a San Francisco native who worked in advertising and didn't get his colonoscopy at 45 or 50 or 51. Finally, at 52, he decides, I should go ahead and do that. By that time, it's too late. He gets his colonoscopy and he finds out he has stage 4 colorectal cancer. It is deemed incurable. He is given a timeline. So he reaches out to get a documentary crew because he wants to face this head on. This guy is irreverent. This guy has indefatigable humor, and he approaches life in a very interesting way. The film opens with him telling a story about literally putting his penis where it doesn't belong. That's how the film opens. And it tells the story of how he met his wife. She was a Canadian bartender in San Francisco, and she asked his friend if they would marry her so that she could get her green card. And Andre was like, I'll do it. And they got married, and then they're like, wait a minute, we're going to get asked questions from whatever, INS maybe? So we got to learn about each other really quickly. So they just spent nights drinking and asking questions, and they got to know each other so well. They're like, you know what, we can commodify this. So they went on the Newlywed Game, and they won, like a lot. And then while they're on one of the vacations they won on the Newlywed Game, they legitimately fell in love. And they had 2 beautiful children. And they stayed together the rest of their lives. It's a crazy story. And Andre's life is full of that. He's very avant. He'll do whatever. And
I mean, you got to be that way if your first impulse is like, you have cancer, let me call a doc crew.
Yes. He speaks with a life coach who was actually, I guess, kind of a death coach, who offers people the opportunity to work on their death yell, the sound they make when they die, to leave an impression. And so he meets with that person. At one point, he and his friend rent an RV and drive out to the desert just to get away from the noise. And there's poignant moments, but there's a lot of humor. There's a lot of levity. There's a lot of claymation and stop motion animation. At one point, he pitches the idea of Who Gets to Kill Me? And it's a game show where people pitch different ideas about how they want to do him in, and he gets to pick the winner. He wanted to donate his body, not to science, but to something else. It was very strange. So it's irreverent, it's fun, it's bouncy, it's light.
It's the fun cancer movie.
And then, by the third act, like, we watch him waste away.
Oh my God.
Like, it is very affecting. But prior to, he visits his old advertising firm, and they pitch a couple of ideas to him about an awareness campaign to get your colon checked. And they find all these things in nature and the world that almost resemble rectums, like navel oranges. I think at one point it's like the top of a ketchup bottle or something. And it says, don't forget. And that's what runs over the credits. But Andre does not survive the film.
Oh my God.
It
Spoilers.
Yeah. He's an idiot. But it was a really affecting film, really well done. It won the Jonathan Oppenheim Editing Award and the Audience Award for U.S. Documentary. And it affected me. I'm going to get my screening because of this film. And ideally, others will as well. That's the purpose of the film. But I understand the audience voting because it's a journey. It really is.
Well, thank you for seeing that movie.
So that you didn't have
So
to.
I did not have to. Because I saw that. I think I read the blurb and went, nope, I'm not. No.
The blurb
I'm
or
not doing
my Andre has butt cancer?
Your blurb made me laugh. But like, yeah, I was like, I don't, there's enough happening in the world. I don't want to deal with cancer.
I did find a pull quote from the film. At one point, there's a part where he tries to extend his life. He does all the treatment. And at one point, he's recovering from chemotherapy, which, knocks you out. And he says, dying is surprisingly boring.
Wow.
And for a guy who lived to the fullest, it really does. It does encapsulate what the film is trying to say.
Well, it sounds like a laugh riot.
It's a good time.
But I think we got to move on to another
Very well.
movie that does not involve a man dying over the course of 2 hours. Oh my God. Okay. Thank you, Sundance. Thank you for that one. All right. So this next film, which I cannot smoothly say, you can't smoothly segue into another film.
And now for something completely different.
And now for something completely different. So the film is called Two Women.
What's it about?
Oddly enough, two women. No, it's 3 guys. It's so weird. I don't know why they did that. Anyway,
Circus mice.
It's by a filmmaker called Chloe Robichaud.
Robichaud.
My French is terrible. I'm just going to preface this, and this is French Canadian, and my French Canadian is even worse. So thank God for subtitles. But it's about these 2 women living in Canada. I don't think they ever say it's Canada, but it's Canada because it's always snowing. Violette and Florence are played by Laurence Leboeuf and Karine Gonthier-Hindman. Just taking a stab at that. So they're these 2 neighbors, and they live in this apartment condo complex kind of thing. One has is with a partner and has a 10-year-old child or a 12-year-old child, and then the other one has a newish baby and is married. And they're left alone a lot, and they're both sort of dissatisfied, a little depressed. And I think that it's they've kind of lost their identity in a way. Who am I? I'm a mom. I'm a wife. And Florence, she goes hard in the paint and decides to revitalize her sexuality. And her partner doesn't really want to have sex with her, so she starts seducing the local repairmen who come to the apartment to fix things. And then, inspired by her, Violette, who we also learn her husband is having an affair with some other woman, she decides to do the same thing. And so it's about this sexual reawakening and these older women. Well, first of all, may I say, just 5 minutes in, I'm like, okay, I am not the intended audience for this movie. This is not, you ever watch a movie like that? You're like, okay, this might be good, but if I were a 40-year-old woman with a child who was on antidepressants, this would be the perfect movie for me.
Right.
But I can be none of those things.
Did you try it with white wine?
I felt like the movie I could have used a glass of wine while watching the movie, but I remember just watching it and thinking, I think this is really well done. Acting's really good. It's really well shot. It's a beautiful kind of slice of life movie, but I went, this is not for me. But it is really well done, and there are sort of revelations in the film that are it's nothing we haven't really seen before, but it's from the female gaze. It's from a female point of view. I don't know that I needed to see that point of view, because I like the magic, when the woman comes out of the dressing room and she's all done up. I don't care how she got that way. I like the finished product.
This film shows you how the sausage is made.
Yeah, in so many ways. And I just watching it the crazy thing is, like, there's a lot of sex and there's nudity in the movie, but it's not like in American movies. It's not like, because first of all, when you see an American movie, first of all, the women look like models. And, these women, they're not unattractive, but they don't look like Victoria's Secret models like they do in American movies. And it's not like Michael Bay shooting it, or like it doesn't have that, I guess, what would be referred to as a male gaze point of view. And so it's not sexy.
So it's sex that isn't sexualized, isn't idealized.
Yeah.
So there's authenticity to the film.
Yeah, and awkwardness and weirdness and
I think we all have been in awkwardness when
yeah,
it comes
and
to bedroom dancing.
But like when you see a film, it's like, now I can't say it was like, it was just not something I personally needed to see, but I know there's a deep audience for there's definitely an audience for this. It's unfortunately not me.
Well, and again, there's that diversity piece again. That everything is represented. Sundance can speak. It speaks to so many, but it also speaks to so many individuals.
I think that the more specific you make the movie, the more like generally accepted it is. The more universal it is.
Yeah.
Which is it's an odd paradox, but it happens so often. It's got to be true.
Yeah, like a hyper specific universal language.
Yeah. All right. So what else did you see?
So the other one is a documentary, and if you thought we were done with cancer, you could not be more wrong.
All right, lay it on me, man.
This is one that made my short list because it is about two poets who are in a relationship, but one of them is dealing with an incurable cancer diagnosis.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry I put these movies together on the bill.
Yeah. So Come See Me in the Good Light is about Colorado poet laureate Andrea Gibson and their partner Meg Fally. Megan Fally is a writer, poet, turned editor, but she's now working on her book. And Andrea Gibson is a poet who, again, is the Colorado's like poet laureate and was a rock star back in the days of slam poetry. So they toured the country doing their poetry in front of people with Maggie Estep, who I'm a big fan of, and I saw Estep's name in the credits, and I was like, oh, ha, ha, ha. And I pulled out my book and read it later. I also looked up a lot of Andrea Gibson's poetry, and their poetry is amazing. But what happens, the reason that they're being followed by a documentary team directed by Ryan White, is Andrea Gibson is fighting ovarian cancer. Originally, they were given a 2-year life expectancy, but they fought past that. And that was in early 2021. I'm happy to say that as of this taping, Andrea is still with us. Undimmable spirit, like indefatigable. They're a fighter, and they fight and they fight. There are so many. There's a lot of humor in the film that they find. They find the humor in their conversations.
Sort of gallows humor like in the previous movie?
Yes.
Or okay.
Yes. It's a terminal diagnosis. So
sweet
yes.
Jesus.
But they're working towards a final hurrah. And their idea is to get back on stage and do poetry again. And so they mount production at the Paramount Theater in Denver. Tig Notaro opens for them.
Cool.
They go out, they do their poetry, and we get snippets of it as we're watching the film. One of the really beautiful moments, Andrea was rehearsing their poetry before the show because the chemo and the radiation affect your vision and your memory. So Andrea was like, well, what if I forget my poems? Oh, I can watch them on a monitor. Well, what if my vision goes out? So they're practicing their poetry, and at one point they're reciting one of their poems, and Megan's right next to them, and Megan starts speaking it along with them. And because Megan is such a fan of their work that Megan has it memorized.
Oh, wow.
And now they're saying it together. It's this gorgeous moment. And there were so many really great moments in this film about relationships. It was really about their relationship that I thought was amazing. One of the two things that Andrea says, one, they say to the confessional camera when Megan isn't there, and one they say to Megan. And the thing that they said to the confessional camera was, the thing I'm really worried about leaving this world is not being there to comfort Megan as she has to go through this. And then the thing that Andrea says to Megan is, another thing that really bums me out about leaving this world is I'm going to go to the other side, and the only person I want to talk about that with is you. I can't wait to grab you and go, you got to see what's over here. So it's their relationship is so inspiring and so real and so raw. And if you haven't checked out Andrea Gibson's poetry, it is amazing. There's this poem. It is called Acceptance Letter for Receiving the Guinness World Record in Goosebumps. And it is an amazing piece of poetry. But yes, this film did win an award that I did not write down. But I think it was the festival favorite. Audience voted festival favorite. So people sat down, they watched this movie, and they're like, that was a damn good movie.
That's one of those films. It's like, it sounds like it's an amazing piece of work, but I don't know if I'm ready to watch it.
Again, this one's a bit more inspirational than Andrea's an Idiot, because as I said, Andrea, as of this taping, is still with us.
Yeah. Okay. So, and if you thought we were done with cancer, no, I'm kidding. This next movie, we're done. There's no terminal diseases in this next one. This one has horses and big sky.
Are the horses okay?
No horses were hurt or killed in the making of this movie that I know of.
Tell me about the horses, Jason.
So, first of all, the movie's called East of Wall, and it's by a filmmaker called Kate Beecroft. This is her directorial debut, I think, or at least her feature debut. And it's really unique. First of all, it's set in the Badlands of South Dakota. When's the last time you saw a movie set there? I was trying to think of especially a modern movie, like a movie that's set now. This is really interesting, and I thought the story behind the movie was just as interesting as the movie itself. So it's about a family led by Tabitha Zuniga, and she is a horse rancher, and she raises horses, and they sell them at fairs and markets and things like that. And the movie's really about her and her family, and she has kids of her own, and then she's just sort of adopted some children whose parents have neglected them and things like that, and they work at the ranch and help her out. And her daughter is like this amazing rodeo rider, and she's doing like barrel runs and doing flips and stuff on horses, and I'm the whole time I'm watching this movie, I've never heard of this actress, I've never seen any of these people. I'm like, where'd she find these people? Like, they have to be like, you can't just take an actor and be like, hey, can you stand up on a horse and do this? Like Tom Mix did that, but he was already a cowboy before he was a movie star. So as it turns out, with the exceptions of like 2 or 3 people, all of the actors in it are playing themselves. So
it's based on a true story?
It's based on these people. So the director spent 3 years with this family, and basically it's not a documentary. She conceived of this story with a dramatic arc about these people and then cast these people as themselves. So Tabitha, her daughter Portia, her boyfriend, it's all real. So at times you do feel like you're watching a documentary because it's really documentary footage that she took like over the 3 years. but there's like wonderful acting in it. And you're like, how's this happening? These people are not actors. And they have a certain look and feel to them. You're like, well, you couldn't take, like the thing to do now would be like to take Brie Larson and make her gain 40 pounds and or whatever, like take so-and-so and make, it doesn't have any of that Hollywood schmaltz slapped onto it. Scoot McNairy plays a rancher from Texas who goes up to South Dakota to buy some horses, and he sees this woman is not in the best situation. She's fighting to keep her ranch, and she's also got all these kids to take care of. And before the movie begins, her partner has killed himself, and her kids were very attached to him, and this was like sort of his land, and she doesn't want to sell, but she's also in like sort of dire straits financially. And so it's a really real depiction of people now. And, Scoot McNairy is great. He's been in other things. And I think he's a rising star right now. And he's like one of the only actors in it. Jennifer, I'm not sure how you say her name. Jennifer L. Ehle. You've seen her in many things. She plays Tabitha's mother, and the way they did the makeup and look on her, she looks so real that people who knew Tabitha's mother were like going up and hugging her at fairs, and they're like, oh wait. And she's like this sassy old broad who's like drinking moonshine and smoking cigarettes, and it's just characters, man. It's like real characters and real drama. And you get these like there's times where you're like sort of riding along in the pickup truck, or you're racing along with a horse, and the daughter's just like flying 45 miles an hour on the back of a steed going full gallop, and it's magic. And then you have these like still moments of like sunsets and lightning storms that would like make John Ford smile. So it's a gorgeous movie, really well done. And I just never seen anything like before. I saw so at the end, we saw it online. At the end, they had the talk back where the director does after the film. And that's where I learned about how the movie was made. And I was like, of course. Like, that's why I've never heard of any of these people. But it's so unique and beautiful and like different. And I think that's what that kind of gives me hope in terms of like, it's not just like the same old tent pole, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know where this movie's going to end up, but I don't know, what kind of distribution it's get, but it's just so beautiful. Like this is its premiere. So it just started the festival run. If you're a festival goer, try to catch it at a festival. Hopefully it will wind up somewhere. Hopefully it'll get some kind of release, but my God, man, what a special, special movie. And it's really moving and beautiful and really good. And like the acting is good. And these people aren't even actors. Do you know how hard it is to get someone to play themselves? Kevin Smith wrote Jay Mewes dialogue into Clerks. And Jay Mewes is like, why am I saying this? And he's like, I don't know. Why do you say this? But that's the kind of thing where like, it's just this really authentic kind of experience. And I was blown away by it. That kind of gives me the renewed joy of like indie film and what it can be. And there's no special effects, there's no there's no monsters, there's no car chases, there's no, explosions or anything.
I was really hoping for like the third act Alien.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like a lot of times when you see movies that have this kind of meaning, they have to be wrapped in some sort of a genre thing. Mm-hmm. But this isn't. It's just like, it's a pure drama. And, man, it knocked it out of the park. I'm really hoping that it does some good business.
I did a cursory glance at some of the programming. It's going to be at South by Southwest, and I do recall seeing that's going to be
It's the perfect movie
so
for
if you're going to South by Southwest, definitely check out
Those
East
are
of
people
Wall.
who have, in fact, so not to throw out a name, but so the Tonkawa Film Festival sponsors us. That is in Oklahoma, in Tonkawa, Oklahoma. I had to learn how to say Tonkawa, by the way. I was saying Tonkawa like it was Japanese, but it's not. And James Oxford, who runs that, he is a rancher. He's like a cowboy. So I immediately thought of James, and I was like, he will love this film. I got to call him up and tell about it. But yeah, absolutely. Like South by Southwest, this movie will kick ass at that festival. It will clean up because people will have I'm from Brooklyn. Like, I don't have this share experience. Like, this is not my thing, but it was really beautiful and really awesome. All right. So we're going to wrap up, but first, for people who want to read your reviews, see your stuff, where can they find you online?
I'm on all the socials at Eric McClanahan or Eric M. McClanahan. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Facebook. Sometimes I got to put some periods in there, but I'm there.
All right, man. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for getting us access to Sundance and writing all these reviews. You did a great job, great interviews, and we'll see you again soon.
Yes, I certainly hope so.
All right, so that's all we got for you today. Thank you again for taking this trip down the rabbit hole and for experiencing our Sundance coverage. For more content, if this wasn't enough for you, go to norestfortheweekendpodcast.com. Visit us on the podcast channels at No Rest for the Weekend and on YouTube, youtube.com/getbehindtherabbit. I'd like to thank my man, Eric McClanahan, and, of course, a big shout-out to the sponsors, Blackmagic Design and the Tonkawa Film Festival. For Behind the Rabbit Productions, I'm Jason Godbey. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
This is the BTRP Media Network.